Welcome. Welcome and good evening to the, where should we start? Welcome and good evening to the Foundation for Criminal Justice 2014 Awards Dinner, celebrating liberty's last champions, guardians of the Constitution. On behalf of the Foundation for Criminal Justice and its trustees and the entire NACDL family, our 10,000 members, over 40,000 affiliated members, our officers, directors, past presidents, and mostly our staff, we start as we must with a resounding thank you, thank you, thank you. I have done my research, and apparently, after saying thank you, it is incumbent upon the chair to recognize the many distinguished guests and dignitaries. So with that in mind, if you are or have ever been a criminal defense lawyer, if you have ever represented an accused who faced the loss of liberty, if you have ever helped, assisted, or counseled a fellow criminal defense lawyer in need, and/or if you believe in the mission of the Foundation for Criminal Justice and the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, please rise. You need to be recognized and congratulated and absorb the thanks you so richly deserve. There is no better place than here tonight in the National Constitution Center to say publicly, without reservation, and with enormous shared pride and satisfaction, that you care, you are concerned, and you are committed to your clients and the community and the Constitution. You protect our freedoms, you ensure and protect our rights provided in our Constitution more often, day in, day out, than any other lawyer in the United States. And for that, we recognize you and thank you for your great work. It is fitting that we celebrate here tonight. National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and its members have been long believers in the Constitution and the National Constitution Center. And for so many of you here, you know in 2003, we called. Yes, we called, and many of you in this room answered that call as you did tonight. And as a result, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers is the only group, and certainly the only group of lawyers, whose name and members will remain together and forever in a place of distinction on a wall of recognition in the National Constitution Center. In addition to all the dignitaries that already stood, we have a great deal of other dignitaries here, leaders of the legal community and the bar. I've been counseled that if I attempt to mention them by name, I certainly will commit a major faux pas. So, I say to you, if you are a dignitary, if you think you're a dignitary, please rise. And of course, we need to extend a special thanks to a couple of people. First, Kenny U. Lancey and the locally based Kenny U. Lancey Ensemble. In addition to being great musicians and Grammy Award winners, he is an absolute joy to work with. He's become known as the NACDL Foundation of Criminal Justice House Band. I'd also like to extend a personal thank you to Stephen Page, a co-founder of Bare Naked Ladies, who graciously agreed to play Wednesday night in City Hall courtyard and tonight. And now I am quite confident this next person will be very embarrassed, but I must do it. There's one person, a non-lawyer, who has done more for this seminar, annual meeting, and gala than anyone else. He's spent more time, he's done more, he's been more helpful, more responsive than virtually any other non-lawyer or non-public official. And that is the principal of Brule Catering, the caterer tonight, owner of Cuba Libre, who provided a luncheon for the public defenders Thursday and a diversity luncheon on Friday. Thank you, Larry. If I had the power, which I do not, at least until tomorrow, I would award you a Champion of Justice award. But tonight we honor and salute liberty's last champions, defenders of the Constitution, America's criminal defense bar, and we honor the Foundation for Criminal Justice, which makes so much of that work possible. And of course, we honor you, all of you, for being here tonight, for supporting the work of the Foundation for Criminal Justice. We will hear tonight from the president of the Foundation, my friend, Jerry Lefcourt, and marking the 50th anniversary of the Criminal Justice Act, we honor the memory of former Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, who was instrumental in bringing the nation such critically important indigent defense reform. And as another point, as a bit of recognition of the respect that this country pays to the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, none other than the United States Attorney General Eric Holder delivered a message at our seminar today. We will hear from Robert Kennedy's daughter, Carrie Kennedy, from NACDL's current president, Jerry Cox, and from the Foundation's NACDL's executive director, Norman Reamer. And we will honor Cynthia Eva Hooja-Orr, who will be receiving the Robert Heaney Award, and Rick Jones, who will be receiving the Champion of Justice Award. Thank you to all of our patrons and sponsors, and especially to this event's sponsors. I will recognize the supporters, and fortunately, it is a long list. Please hold your applause until all the supporters are announced. But as another bit of personal privilege, I'd first like to thank my 1967 freshman Zeta Beta Tau Beta Psi pledge class from American University, who through their generous contribution of one dear brother, and you know who that is, he provided $10,000 so any classmate could attend tonight. You certainly are qualify as an advocate for change. Thank you. And now, other advocates for change. ABC Bail Bonds, Arshak, Hayjack, and Lirman, Berger and Montague, Black, Shrebnick, Hornspan, and Stumpf, Blank Rome, DeMuro Ginsburg, Garland, Samuel, and Loeb, Gaskins, Bennett, Burrell, and Shupp, Gerald B. Lefcourt, Goldstein, and Hilly, Kecker and Van Nest, the law offices of Murray Richmond, Mark M. O'Mara, Manat and Spurrier, O'Melvini and Myers, OPS Security Group, and the Pennsylvania Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, PNC Bank, Rick Jones, Lisa Wayne, and Vicki Young, Ritchie, Dillard, Davies, and Johnson, Schertler and Honorato. Here's one I've never seen before, Theodore Simon, Wiggin and Dana, Protectors of Civil Rights, Haddon, Morgan, and Foreman, Billy Murphy, and the guardians of justice, Hafetz, Nekeles, and Rocco, Klein and Spector, Kramer, Levin, Naftalis, and Frankel, Neufeld, Barishek, and Bruston, Sidley Austin Foundation, and we're very fortunate to say our champion of liberty, Winston and Strawn. They certainly are entitled to great applause. I'd also like to thank the dinner committee that has been working with me since last fall to make tonight happen. Ellen Brotman, Jerry Cox, Nina Ginsburg, Alyssa Heinrichs, Rick Jones, Jerry Lefcourt, Mark Mahoney, Joseph Martini, Linda Marino, Kevin Napper, and our own George Newman. And finally, to my colleagues and fellow trustees who oversee the Foundation for Criminal Justice all year round, Gerald B. Lefcourt, our president, Lawrence S. Goldman, our treasurer, Bruce M. Lyons, secretary, Barbara Bergman, Susan Brune, William Buckman, Jerry Cox, Gerald Goldstein, John Hall, Edward Millett, Cynthia Orr, Martin Pinales, Barry Scheck, Lisa Wayne, Vicki Young. Again, and tonight, yes, tonight, the dream is being realized to raise funds, significant funds, and also to celebrate and honor the work of criminal defense lawyers, and to do so in the company of the many of our dearest friends and colleagues. I have observed tonight the bounding smiles and bear hugs. For those that could not be here, we know if you could, you would have, and you are missed. For those present, we hope you enjoy the evening, and it will remain an ever-enduring, indelible, and ever-present memory of solidarity, of mission, and friendship. Words are inadequate to express the thanks of the Foundation, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, its officers, members, and staff, and of course myself, for your support and generosity. Please know it is heartfelt, deeply appreciated, and will not be forgotten. And finally, I have the distinct privilege and honor to introduce a past president of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and the current president of the Foundation for Criminal Justice, my friend, your friend, New York lawyer, Jerry Lefcourt.
Thank you, my man. We are here to celebrate the nation's defense lawyers who every day in courtrooms throughout the country protect the Sixth Amendment. We're here to celebrate the champions of liberty and the struggle that we engage in every day. Your support is critical to that fight. Your support of this foundation, the Foundation for Criminal Justice, has enabled this fledgling organization to turn into a powerful engine for reform. The foundation of 501c3 means it's tax exempt. Your donations are tax deductible. We are now eligible for grant money, and we get grant money, Ford Foundation, even the Department of Justice, and many other foundations. What the work of the foundation is, it's these issues that are so important to the defense bar. Brady and discovery reform, confronting racial disparity in the criminal justice system, grand jury reform, efforts to push back against asset seizure prior to trial, where a presumably innocent person will be without assets. And it has provided unprecedented resources to restore the restoration of rights by eliminating the silent penalties that someone will suffer from a minor condition which will be life-altering, a disability that many cannot ever recover from. And this foundation persists in many other efforts, including the continuing labor to prevent that travesty of justice in Guantanamo. But tonight, we especially tonight want to recognize those special people, the defenders, the court-appointed attorneys. This month marks the 50th anniversary of the federal legislation that established the federal indigent defense system called the Criminal Justice Act. That system, a hybrid model with defenders and court-appointed lawyers, has long served as a model for the country. But that's only the federal system. The state and local systems are often a sham. To this day, there is great injustice for the lack of help for indigent defense. These are serious challenges, and thanks to your support, we will continue to fight for those reforms, and we will overcome. I get here because I was a defender in New York, a public defender, who started with caseloads in a system that was frightening. I was not trained, I didn't know what I was doing, and thrown into courts handling the most serious felonies. It was frightening. And so the lawyers and my colleagues at the time formed the first lawyers' union in the country to prevent that disgusting system from continuing. For that, I got fired. And so, for me, federal defenders, state defenders, court-appointed lawyers are the heart of what we do. And it's so important that they be recognized. Next, I want to recognize the architect of the Federal Criminal Justice Act. President Kennedy supported the Criminal Justice Act, but it was his brother, the Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, who saw the Criminal Justice Act as a way to prevent massive injustice. Tonight, we are pleased to have Bobby Kennedy's daughter, Kerry Kennedy, speak to us on the legacy and the commitment of the Criminal Justice Act. Kerry, who is an outstanding human being, who has been active in human rights for 30 years. She is the chair of Amnesty International USA Leadership Council. She serves on the board of Human Rights First, and Kerry is the president of the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation for Justice and Human Rights. She has led 50 delegations around the globe fighting for human rights, a great legacy of her father. But she has another reason for being here tonight, sort of a unique experience that makes her particularly qualified. Kerry was recently charged in New York with driving under the influence of the drug Ambien. An outrageous case, because it was obvious she had accidentally taken an Ambien instead of her thyroid medication when she woke up one morning to go to the gym in gym clothes and grabbed the wrong bottle, they wouldn't dismiss the case. And she was determined to seek complete exoneration. And she did. But her immediate reaction to the jury verdict of acquittal was not to rail against her prosecutors, as I did, but it was to say to talk about the importance of having a robust defense and how few Americans could really accomplish that on their own. Kerry immediately accepted our invitation to speak here on the 50th anniversary of her father's legacy, the Criminal Justice Act, and she was coming until her brother Bobby announced that he would get married today in Hyannisport. So she sent us a video, but she also did something else. She said, "Can I find somebody else for you? How about the president of Harvard Law School or Georgetown Law School? How about the Attorney General?" I said, "The Attorney General?" And yes, she made 2 calls to Attorney General Eric Holder. I don't know if those were the only calls. NACDL has had an open invitation, but he was here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to turn to the screen and hear the remarks of Kerry Kennedy. And I thank you very, very much for coming here tonight and supporting the Foundation for Criminal Justice. Thank you.
And now I have the pleasure to introduce Jerry Cox, the president of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and he will present our most prestigious award, the Robert C. Heaney Award, to one of the great lawyers in the United States, Cynthia Huja Orr.
Good evening. I wanted to say something about what Ms. Kennedy said. You know, in the land of the free, we incarcerate more people than anybody else in the world. Today, raw numbers, per capita, however you want to slice it and dice it, we put more people in jail than anybody. And I read an article in the paper the other day that we are the top 5 in the death penalty. We rank with China, Pakistan, Iran, and Iraq. So we've got a lot of work to do. I haven't gotten that out of the way. I've got a job to do. The Robert C. Heaney Award, named for NACDL's 18th president, is given each year to the one criminal defense lawyer who best exemplifies the goals and values of the association and the legal profession. I want to tell you a bit about this incredible leader who perfectly fits this criteria. This year's Heaney Award recipient, my friend Cynthia Orr. Cynthia was the NACDL president in 2009 to 2010. She served in every officer position and countless other positions of leadership. During her term as president, the NACDL supported a challenge to New York State's inadequate delivery of indigent defense services and made extraordinary efforts to support defense lawyers working on Guantanamo Bay to bring about transparency to the proceedings there. Also during her term, NACDL, together with the Heritage Foundation, released the influential report, Without Intent, How Congress is Eroding the Criminal Intent Requirement in Federal Law, bringing to focus to the problem of overcriminalization, and issued studies on misdemeanor courts, problem-solving courts, and the need to ensure scientific integrity of forensic evidence. Cynthia currently serves as a Fifth Circuit Vice Chair of the NACDL's Amicus Committee, as a member of the NACDL's Champion Advisory Board, and as a member of NACDL's Death Penalty, Corrections, Forfeiture Abuse, Fourth Amendment Advocacy, and Discovery Reform Committees. She's a trustee of the Foundation for Criminal Justice and has previously chaired NACDL's Membership, Internet, Public Affairs, and History Committees. As a leading criminal defense lawyer, Cynthia obtained the first confession of error by the state of Texas in a death penalty case. McGill Angel Martinez against Gary Johnson. And on October 4th, in 2011, along with the Innocence Project, she was instrumental in gaining the release of Michael Morton, an innocent man who'd been convicted in 1987. That's 24 years he was in prison for the murder of his wife in Williamson County, Texas, which he did not commit. In her first year of practice, Cynthia was counsel on an amicus brief in CNN against General Manuel Noriega before the United States Supreme Court, where she successfully defended this unpopular defendant, attorney-client privilege. Cynthia is also the NACDL's representative in the American Bar Association, House of Delegates, and will become co-chair of the ABA's Criminal Justice Section next week at the ABA annual meeting. The fact is, I could go on and on in recounting Cynthia's many positions and accomplishments. Simply put, she's an outstanding attorney, as well as a civic leader and bar leader, and a dedicated and compassionate human being who brings all of her talents and her heart and mind and her soul to everything she does. But what is most important, it is her steadfast dedication to NACDL, for the long record of service to NACDL, and her pursuit of the highest ideals of human criminal justice system. Cynthia, Eva, who receives the 2014 Robert Heaney Award.
So sweet. Thank you, Jerry. I'm very fond of Vicki and you. You're such an elegant couple. Heaney recipients, thank you for recommending this great honor. It's the best. I know my husband and I will celebrate again when I get home back to San Antonio, and we all enjoy celebrations, births. I've heard about the accomplishments of your sons and your daughters at this meeting. We celebrated Jim Levine's birthday last evening at the past president's gathering at dinner, and we let Ted come anyway. He was great entertainment. And deaths in our families remind us of the good that our short lives give us, the short time we're here on earth. Brothers and sisters and friends, you stand with each other against proven opponents. And together we find safety, we gain recognized results, and the greatest risk to our success is in not joining. You look at justice and ask together, what would we do? What is good? And you aspire to move obstacles. Today, Norman Reamer welcomed with respect and deference Attorney General Eric Holder and reminded him he had work to do still yet on the death penalty, on Brady reform. I do pro bono death penalty work. I remember when this award was a surprise, and that was always fun, but it was so much fun also to enjoy the congratulations that all of you offered throughout the meeting and the joy that you shared in my success. That's the character of this group. It was really momentous that Eric Holder came to speak to us and that he congratulated Cynthia Rosenberry for her work on the Clemency Project. And it made me think about how grateful I am that Jerry Goldstein shared you and ACDL with me so many years ago. It reminded me that we all share this love of freedom and of justice and the work we love, this foundation, the work that it does, the way that our staff and Norman and our officers and trustees leverage the money that's donated to have a powerful impact for good results. And we were discussing ways, oddly enough, to show our character again, how we could decrease our business, decriminalize offenses, reduce these regulatory wrongs with no mens rea, engage in drug law reform. It's to create the best world that we can. We were encouraged today to study decisions about how we could eradicate implicit and explicit bias. We are a nation with 60% of the world's imprisoned population, only 5% of the world's population. We spend an extraordinary $80 billion a year on imprisonment. And so we've taken it upon ourselves and joined with others to put the future in our hands and work for extraordinary change. We've asked like-minded individuals with wisdom and with resources to join us. And I know we plan to ask those folks to join our advisory board at the Foundation in the Spirit of Liberty, and which, of course, is the greatest patriotism. We have seen extraordinary gains in public opinion coming to our side on the death penalty, changes that I never expected to see in my lifetime. What you do selflessly is very seductive because it deals with essential human freedoms, what we all understand, that we shouldn't act with fear and bigotry, but instead with understanding, with light. We reshape society and we build a foundation based on love, hope, freedom, and security, and human liberty to destroy cruelty, eliminate the death penalty, and leave a common legacy where you are your brother's keeper. You are your sister's keeper. You are the keeper of the least among us. You are the best hope for those who are in most desperate need. Our precious brothers and sisters and moms and dads, through kindness, through achieving right, and with respect. I'm so grateful for the Heaney Award. recognizing that this is the work I have had the great pleasure to join. Thank you.
I know many of you received at least one phone call from me, maybe more. And every time I would make that call, there was always some uncertainty whether you would not only answer the call, but come through. And then there was this one call. I called a very dear friend, a very great lawyer, and he was busy on the phone. So I called his equally great partner and daughter. And when I got Juliana Greenspan on the phone from Canada, daughter of Edward Greenspan, I said, "Did you get my email?" "Yes." "Can you come?" She says, "Oh, August 1st is my anniversary." And she said, "It's really important anniversary. It's my 15th anniversary." And I got that sinking feeling. And then she said, "No, we're going to come to Philadelphia and celebrate our anniversary here." Juliana Greenspan, a dear, dear friend and wonderful lawyer in Canada. And her father, Edward Greenspan, were the great, great lawyers in Canada who just couldn't make it tonight for some personal reasons, and we miss him. And now there's another equally important note. It's another date. There's someone else here tonight who's celebrating. She's celebrating her 12th birthday. This is also a very close associate of mine, Alexa Bieber. Now, if you're moved by those two announcements, I'd ask you to look into your journal, and in the first page there happens to be an envelope. And that envelope speaks to me. I hope it speaks to you. And if you feel as I feel tonight, I hope you take advantage of that envelope and maybe submit something. And now we're going to move on with the program. One of the ways the foundation pursues its mission, and a key aspect of the ability of NACDL to amplify the voice of the defense bar, is through its robust amicus curiae, or friend of the court, brief program. Hardly a brief program. In recent years, NACDL files on average nearly 50 briefs in courts throughout the country, more than ever it has in the past. And these briefs and the arguments set forth in them make an actual and material difference in the application and development of the Constitution and the criminal law in America. In one recent Supreme Court term, the National Law Journal reported, and I quote, "Organizations known for excellent submissions had multiple briefs cited by the justices. The National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and the ACLU received the most attention with 4 briefs and 3 briefs cited respectfully." 4, 3. But who's counting? And last year, the New York Times cited NACDL as one of the most active friends of the court in recent years, observing that at the cert petition stage, 7 of the top 10 amicus briefs in the United States Supreme Court were pro-business or anti-regulatory groups. However, NACDL was the leader of the remaining 3 organizations. None of this would be possible without the volunteer support of lawyers throughout the profession. On the screen, you will see the names of the scores of attorneys and firms who have donated their time in just the last year to the preparation of amicus curiae briefs filed by the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers alone, or on which NACDL was a signatory. We gratefully honor and salute you for your invaluable contribution to making the voice of NACDL heard in state and federal courts across the nation. It is because of that truly extraordinary work I want to thank the national co-chairs of NACDL's Amicus Curiae Committee, Barbara Bergman, Joshua Draytell, Jeffrey Fisher, Jeffrey Green, John Hacker, and David Porter. This incredible committee is also served by nearly 30 vice chairs who together cover every jurisdiction in our nation. Their names are projected on the screen, and I thank them for all of their hard work. If you are a co-chair, vice chair, or have ever worked on an NACDL amicus brief, please stand, remain standing until I conclude, and accept the thanks that you also so richly deserve. I'm standing too. We thank and salute all of the pro bono attorneys and firms who have contributed to NACDL's amicus program and the volunteer leaders on the NACDL's amicus committee. Thanks to all of their work, this great association will continue to be a reliable champion of fundamental rights and freedoms and make a difference as a friend of the court. Thank you all so very much. Now it's my pleasure, my distinct pleasure, to turn this program over to my dear friend and our incomparable executive director, and not too long ago, fierce criminal defense lawyer, I could say Norman L. Reamer, but to all of us, he is just Norman.
Well, we're on the precipice of a transition at NACDL, so I just want to begin by congratulating NACDL's outgoing president, Jerry Cox, who is also an invaluable trustee of the foundation. He has had an extraordinary year. This gentleman, Cynthia said, spoke about his elegance. So right she was. This gentleman from Kentucky elevates us all. Please give him one more rousing round of applause. To our incoming president, our dinner chair, Ted, I want to salute you for your tireless work in making this event such a success. And I want to share with all of you that when we first started to think about having this program in Philadelphia, we thought that if we could get 200 people, it would be a rousing success. And about 10 days ago, as we were approaching 600, we had to shut it off. Ted, this is amazing, amazing work. It reflects your amazing, amazing dedication. I look forward to a great year. Thank you. But if you look a little bit back through the prism of the last several years of history, the real architect of what this foundation has achieved is a person who had the vision, the courage, and the drive to see this foundation's potential. A person who 7 years ago challenged all of us to think creatively and boldly and set a personal example. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of our foundation, Jerry Lefcourt. Stand up, Jerry. Stand up. Stand up. Come on. I also want to congratulate two genuine heroes of our profession, tonight's principal honorees and great friends and great leaders, Cynthia Orr and Rick Jones, who you'll hear from in just a moment. There is one other person that I want to recognize tonight who I guess you could say could possibly be at the cusp of history. And it's funny how things take shape and how destiny plays a hand. But this thing that started last January with a call for the possibility of a clemency initiative that has sort of become an all-consuming concept with the thought that we could possibly liberate hundreds or thousands of people from our jails. We were fortunate, because of destiny, to have somebody come on board as the manager of the Clemency Project 2014. And I want you all to meet a person who has already met the challenge, dealt with some of the most intractable challenges you could possibly imagine, a former federal defender who gave up her position to take this risk, to take this chance, to try to free people, Cynthia Roseberry. Stand up, Cynthia. And as far as the thank yous go, it's last, but let me tell you, in my heart, it is not last, it is first. None of this would have been possible without the NACDL staff. You cannot believe the countless hours that so many of them have put into staging this event, all beyond their normal responsibilities. And of course, all of them, even those who weren't involved in the actual program, are essential to implement the various projects that are the reason we're here to begin with. I could be mistaken, but I actually believe that this is the largest gathering of NACDL staff outside of Washington ever. I believe the entire staff is here tonight. They are all over the place, but I would ask all of them, wherever you are, to please stand up, and I ask the rest of you to thank this magnificent staff. Now, the program says that I am supposed to deliver remarks, but the program is wrong. It is a deception. It is a white lie so that we could keep a secret and pull off a special surprise for an invaluable member of the NACDL team. Tonight, I am proud to inaugurate the presentation of the Executive Directors Award. This award will be given from time to time by the Executive Director of the Foundation and NACDL to recognize enduring and outstanding service by a member of the staff. Some context. An organization is defined by its core values, the principles it embraces, and its capacity to reflect those principles in the work it produces. But in the modern world, where people are bombarded with multimedia, nonstop, 24/7 inputs, visual presentation is essential to ensure maximum impact. For the past 21 years, the person who has been responsible for how NACDL and the Foundation are presented across an ever-expanding array of media is the person who will be the recipient of the first Executive Directors Award, the Director of NACDL's Art Department, Kathy Zlomek. Hold on, Kathy. Hold on. We've got some things to share with the audience. It is impossible to overstate the impact that Kathy has on everything NACDL. Web graphics to program brochures, from the award-winning Champion magazine to each and every report generated by the Foundation and NACDL. Dinner journals, the beautiful journal you have tonight, subscription brochures, letterhead, all of this bears her incredible imprint. You can throw all the words and ideas you can into a pot, but it is the graphic presentation that adds the spice that makes it palatable to the reader. To paraphrase the words of the super chef Emeril Lagasse, Kathy is the one who kicks it up a notch. She's a brilliant artist, and I'd ask you to consider some of these images. An issue of the Champion devoted to neuroscience, featuring a digital cross-section of the human brain with a giant electrode attached to it. A report on the multifaceted challenges confronting indigent defense reformers reflected in a Rubik's Cube against a wall of building blocks. A groundbreaking report on problem-solving courts predicated on NACDL's principle that drug abuse should be treated as a medical issue instead of a criminal act, brilliantly captured in the juxtaposition of the yin and yang between symbols of the criminal justice system, handcuffs, and caduceus, the universal symbol of the medical profession. Or consider the recently released report on the restoration of rights, the army green symbolizing collateral damage, the lead title of the report, with the contrasting images of despair and the pathway to hope against the tableau of a dove emerging skybound from a prison compound. The philosopher John Dewey, in a signature work of his called Art and Experience, said this: "What most of us lack in order to be artists is not the inceptive emotion, nor merely technical skill and execution. It is the capacity to work a vague idea and emotion into terms of some definite medium." And that is what Kathy does. That is what she has done for 21 years. I can only say this: I myself am not an artist, far from it. But I have always been drawn to art and artists, as I have been drawn to my wife, Linda, who is a dancer, another form of art. But visitors to NACDL's office will note that 6 or 7 years ago, when we built our current office, I placed my office right next to Kathy and her department. I walk by it every time I enter or leave the office, and I did that for a reason. I did it so that I can begin and end every day with a reminder of the artistry with which our work is sent out into the world. And as I pass the wall of awards outside of Kathy's office, it brings an indescribable feeling of joy and pride in what we all do. Kathy, 21 years of service to an organization is very unusual these days. It's a long time. But speaking for myself, I hope that it is merely the midpoint in your tenure. Please come up and accept the award. I'm hopefully surprised.
Yes.
Say something. You know, you've done it before. You can do it. Okay. Put it over here. Daniel will bring it back to me.
Thank you. I am overwhelmed and grateful. I've had the privilege of working for a really important organization for these years that has given me opportunities to use my creativity and my passion to get a message out. And the message and the work that you do is so important, and I am privileged and proud to be able to try to put that message forth and bring a image that people can connect to and to get the message out. So thank you very much.
You know, we were talking about public defenders a while ago, and I guess I'm old enough that we had a different public defender system when I started practicing law. The new lawyer in town was called up by the judge and said, "Meet Mr. So-and-so, go back and talk to him, we're going to try him." I'd learned by then that they had to give you time to prepare. So I said, well, I got to have time to talk with him and talk to witnesses and do all this stuff. And the judge, being smarter than I was at that time, said, "Well, how much time do you need?" When I said, "At least 2 weeks." We've come a long way since then. And we have, in Kentucky, we have a statewide public defender system. It's independently run, and we're doing great. I only mention that because the guy I'm going to talk to about right now is a defender and has done great things at defending. NACDL's Champion of Justice Awards are bestowed upon those individuals who, through legislative, legal, journalistic, or humanitarian pursuits, have staunchly preserved or defended the constitutional rights of American citizens and has endeavored to ensure justice and due process for persons accused of crime. Tonight, I've got the honor of presenting the Champion of Justice Legal Award to a lawyer who is a model for all of us. Our colleague and friend, Rick Jones. Few have achieved what Rick has accomplished in the courtroom, in the leadership of a major defender organization, and as a visionary bar leader. He has dedicated years of service to raising the quality of indigent defense for the residents of Harlem, New York, and to advocating for the improvement of indigent defense systems throughout the nation. He's the executive director and founding member of the Neighborhood Defender Services of Harlem. Since its founding more than 20 years ago, the Neighborhood Defender Service has gained national and international recognition for its innovative, community-based approach to public service and public defense. And Rick has been a leader of those efforts, taking the NDS to new heights and always striving to find new and more efficient means to meet the needs of every single client, comprehensively and creatively. But more than that, Rick has helped redefine the role of a bar leader and the mission of the organized bar. While he has served in many leadership capacities, such as chair of our indigent defense and as an officer, it is not the title that defines Rick, but the content of this work. Nothing better defines that content than his leadership of two of the most important projects ever undertaken by NACDL or perhaps any other bar association. His work as co-chair of the task force on the problem-solving courts, and more recently as co-chair of the task force on the restoration of rights, has been transformational for NACDL and perhaps the nation. Rick's work took him to more than a dozen cities around the country, presiding over public hearings where scores of witnesses provided direct testimony of issues of preeminent concern to the cause of justice in America. He led an unprecedented partnership between volunteer leaders and the professional staff that has catapulted NACDL into the forefront of the national movement to restore rights. And though it's all his focus, and through it's all, his focus has been on the human impact of failed policies. He has not shrunk from confronting the ugly reality of ethnic and racial disparity in the criminal justice system, nor has he even for one moment failed to deliver the message of hope. He's delivered this message on behalf of the NACDL with vigor, with compassion, and with conviction. He's addressed the media, the community, and Congress. Rick has not only led in these efforts, but he's been NACDL's public face of reform. Recently speaking in Chicago before the National Black Chamber of Commerce, Rick summed up the 3 years of work that he and his colleagues put in the Restoration of Rights Task Force when he said, "The time has come to change our national mindset, to move away from the endless prosecution and lifetime punishment. The time has come to move forward toward forgiveness, redemption, and the restoration of rights and status." Those are the words of an inspiring colleague who is the NACDL's secretary today. He will be NACDL's vice president tomorrow, and he is a champion of justice forever. And so, on the night when we are celebrating liberty's last champions, guardians of the Constitution, it is fitting that we honor Rick Jones with the NACDL's Champion of Justice Award. Come on up, Nick.
So let me just say right off the bat that, you know, my mother and my brother are here, and I'm not really big on the special occasions. As you can see, I'm the only person after dinner who isn't wearing a tux, but since I had to shave twice today, and my mother's in the audience, I think this is a special occasion. I just want to say right off the bat that I'm very proud of my younger brother who's here, who has accomplished great things and is going to continue to do so. And I don't really want to go all Kevin Durant on you, but my mom has been there with my brother and I every step of the way. And I'm very happy that she's here tonight, and I'd just like you to give her a round of applause. What a great night. Kudos to Ted and the planning committee and everyone else involved in pulling off this evening. And what a treat for me to be honored alongside Cynthia Orr. No one has worked harder or been more committed to NACDL than Cynthia has. And Jerry Cox. Jerry Cox is a good man. He really is. Jerry Cox is a good man. He was honored as Lawyer of the Year in Kentucky this year. He's probably been Lawyer of the Year for the last 25 years in Kentucky. And we have been happy and lucky and fortunate to have him as NACDL's president this year. Let's give it up for Jerry Cox. When Jerry told me that he wanted to give me this award, the Champion of Justice, I literally had to stop and ask myself, justice, is that still a thing? And if it is still a thing, then I'm certainly not the champion of it, because I rarely see it. But I work at an incredible place called the Neighborhood Defender Service of Harlem. And some of you may know it. So when I do see justice, it's in the work of my colleagues at NDS, who, in my estimation, are true heroes and who save lives every day. In fact, the motto of our office is making justice a reality for those farthest from its reach. And when I do see justice, it's in the work of Norm and the staff at NACDL, and I just have to take a point of personal privilege to also, they're all wonderful, but to also mention Angelin Frazier, who has been with me for the last several years and who is just phenomenal. You should know, and I'm here to tell you that NACDL has changed the criminal justice landscape in this country. From reforms in discovery, forensics, eyewitness identification, and our drug laws, to the Clemency Project and indigent defense, to combating overcriminalization, collateral consequences, and ending racial disparity, NACDL has changed the debate. And make no mistake, the work that you do, the work that each of you does on the board, on committees, as members, as practitioners, matters. Your work and the work of NACDL is changing the national mindset on crime and punishment in this country. There is a momentum shift underway. The Attorney General came here and spoke to you this morning. The pendulum is beginning to swing, ever so slowly, from mass arrest, prosecution, and endless punishment to forgiveness, redemption, and restoration. So keep up the fight. The tide is turning. But mostly, when I see justice, when I see righteousness, it's in the faces of the people we represent every day. 68 million people in this country living with a conviction. That's more than the entire population of France. 14 million new arrests every year. 2.2 million people, 2.2 million people will sleep in a prison cell tonight, more than anywhere else on earth. Most of them are black or brown, overwhelmingly poor. They face injustice every day. They face oppression every day. They can legitimately ask, does justice exist? But the thing that keeps me going, and as Jerry said, I've been all over the country listening to people. The thing that keeps me going as I listen to folks is that they never give up hope. Their spirit never dies. They never quit fighting. And neither should we. And neither can we. It's for their struggle that we do what we do. And it's for their struggle that NACDL exists. And it's for their struggle that I accept this award tonight. Thank you.
All right. Now that's a hard act to follow. But there is one more act tonight, and it takes place downstairs. So please rise, head downstairs to hear the house band, Kenny Ulancian Ensemble, and the great Stephen Page. Good evening. Enjoy yourselves downstairs for some dancing.